right, so before I actually start my talk, because this is a very special Megalithomania meeting here, John Michell has just passed on into spirit. The whole conference is dedicated to him. And so before I start my talk, I'd like to ask, first of all, how many of you here knew John personally, or had seen him speak, or had seen him walking around Glastonbury? How many people knew John? The majority. Great, okay. And how many of you have read at least one of the following titles? The View Over Atlantis, The New View Over Atlantis, Dimensions of Paradise, or City of Revelation? Okay, the majority. Okay, great. I mean, it's okay if you haven't, but I was just kind of curious about that. Okay, so these pictures are of a man you know very well. It's John Michell. They were taken at a cafe in London in 2007, on the Portobello Road, actually. And in the lower right is something that's probably very familiar to you. That's the New Jerusalem diagram, for which John is so well known. In that diagram, the number 1080, or 1080, plays a very important role, and if you've read John's work, you know about that. This number represents intuition and inspiration. As a writer, John combined a huge amount of intuition and inspiration with an equally great measure of focused and rational grasp of his subjects, and the results were often astonishing. John was a leading light in several fields. Given the nature of his production, it's a great honor to have worked with him as a collaborator. Here you see him holding the manuscript for How the World is Made. This is his only book that remains unpublished. Besides the many people that John has influenced, he's had a very interesting history of collaborations with artists, designers, and researchers, including Richard Adams, Una Woodruff, Bob Rickard, John Neal, Marilee Harper, Robin Heath, and Ellen Brown. A very illustrious crew. I know that John regretted the delay in publication of this particular manuscript, and we, at the very least, very deeply regret that John is no longer with us. So to make myself feel a little bit better about this loss, I've made up a fantasy, a little story, and it goes like this. Not gone, just temporarily dematerialized, as you can see. He's standing under a red light. This was taken more or less at the same time as the other ones, but there was a red light above. Very typical stance of John, as you can see, with his cigarette. In this picture, John's standing next to a photo of the Rosette Nebula. That's a star-forming region in the constellation Monoceros. And I've put that there to symbolize John's ability to inspire and to catalyze. In the upper right-hand corner is the Eagle Nebula. I've put that there to symbolize John's qualities as a far-seeing visionary. The red nebula that looks like a flower on the bottom is the Cat's Eye Nebula, and that's one of the most complex and beautiful ones ever seen, apparently. It represents John's sense of beauty and his keen intelligence. This nebula also features unusual shock-induced knots of gases, and that stands for John's trickster qualities, switching things around, reversing received ideas, and forever turning the tables to reveal the unexpected. Anybody who knew John knows that about him. On the left, you see the cover of the first edition of 12 Tribe Nations and the Science of Enchanting the Landscape. Little ad here, copies are on sale downstairs. Also, most of the other books mentioned in my talk. On the right, you see the cover of the second edition. This just came out in the USA in late 2008 with Inner Traditions. The subtitle was changed to Sacred Number and the Golden Age. John himself always gave 12 tribe nations an important place among all his books. It connects two of his major works, The View Over Atlantis and The Dimensions of Paradise. It shows how the ideal cosmological pattern Okay, right, I don't have to bend down that way. Okay, great. The ideal cosmological pattern, that's the New Jerusalem diagram we saw earlier, was applied in the organization of traditional societies in many parts of the world. Okay. Cosmologically ordered societies are aligned with the unchanging truth of mathematics and its expressions in nature, as author Michael Schneider has so well said. Hello? Okay, the universal 12 tribes, okay, all over the world, there are records and traditions of nations divided into 12 tribes and 12 regions. Each tribe and each region corresponded to one of the signs of the zodiac and one of the months of the year. Most widely known are the 12 tribes of Israel, but there have been many others. The purpose of such a structure was to provide unity to traditional societies. The plan was a symbolic chart of the heavens. This was divided into 12 constellations and governed by 12 principal gods. The earth became a mirror of the heavens, as we've been repeating here in different ways for the whole weekend. That is, in essence, one of our branches of study here. The recurrent archetype. The pattern of 12 around 1 is a recurrent archetype. It haunts the imagination, and it always remains a source of inspiration. At the end of my talk, we're going to look at an interesting recurrence in the modern world. Wherever we find the legend of 12 gods, 12 saints, or 12 heroes who sanctified their surroundings, there we may look for an ancient sacred landscape divided into 12 astrological segments. On the left, we see an ancient Roman altar with the 12 gods and goddesses in a circle. The signs of the zodiac are carved on the outer edge of this altar, which is in Paris, actually the original, in the Louvre. To the right are the 12 Greek gods and goddesses, each with a characteristic emblem and connected with a zodiac sign. Systems of 12 gods that corresponded to the division of the year into 12 months and the heavens into 12 astrological houses were adopted in ancient Egypt, Phoenicia, Chaldea, Persia, and throughout the East. This is a view of the Tibetan national flag, a bit blurry, but it's there. The 6 original tribes of Tibet are symbolized by the 6 red rays on this flag. In some accounts, there are said to have been 12 Tibetan tribes. Their representatives formed the Circular Council under the Dalai Lama. On the other side of the world, in the USA, south of the Great Lakes, the Winnebago Indians had a 12-clan society in which 4 superior clans represented the heavenly quarters.